What's up, everybody? Paul here from the Hoops Crew, and it is semi-finals week. And despite the fact that the Cats won't be featuring, we await a winner from one of these two matchups. I'm still going to go through the predictions anyway. It's all important. We're going to cast an eye forward to the whole final series, but we're going to begin by looking at semi-final week and the two matchups between the Crows and the Hawks and the Suns and the Lions with you today. So let's quickly take a look at the brackets and how things currently stand. Of course, a reminder for what happened last week for anyone who, was under a rock and has continued to remain under a rock until this point. Collingwood getting the job done by 24 points against the Crows in Adelaide. Hawks in one of the strangest, coolest games that I've seen in quite some time, getting the job done against the Giants to the tune of 19 points. The Gold Coast Suns sneaking over the line by a point against the Fremantle Dockers, and then the Cats, our beloved Cats, the most comprehensive job of the weekend, smacking around the Lions. And so the Pies and the Cats await winners from this weekend's matches, but let's make some predictions here about what we can and should expect. And of course, we've only got two games that we're going to be predicting on: Crows and the Hawks, Lions and the Suns, with the winner of the Crows and the Hawks going on to play the Cats, the Lions and the Suns going on to play against the Pies. So how does this all work out? Well, we'll talk a little bit about that after this word from our sponsor.
The Hoops Crew Media Network is proudly sponsored by Cyril Cook Florist. Visit them at shop 1211 Leather Street in Breakwater. Phone them on 035 222 2244 or visit their website at www.cyrilcookflorist.com.au and use the offer code GOCATS in the voucher field at checkout to get 20% off your next online purchase.
Thank you, Cyril Cook Florist, as always, for your ongoing support of the Hoops Crew and all we get up to. Now let's get into these predictions. So we've got the Crows and the Hawks. Now, of course, the Crows have just come off the back of a 24-point loss. You've then got the Hawks, who could very well have blown the game against the Giants in the end, allowing them to kick 7 consecutive goals to storm back into the lead early in the final quarter, and they just regained their composure and hung on. They showed a lot of class, if I'm being quite honest. I don't like to admit that, considering I'm a Geelong supporter. We're a bit anxious and worried about any matchup against the Hawks, and that's a distinct possibility going into next week's matchup if they were to get up here. So, will they get the job done? Well, I think the conversation needs to center a little bit around the Crows. They are the home team, obviously. They were the team that finished top of the ladder. Let's not dismiss the Hawks because they finished 8th, because had one game shifted, they would have finished somewhere like 3rd on the ladder. So let's not get too caught up in ladder position here, but let's hone in a little bit on the Crows because they were the home team, and all of the talk is, both during the game and in the days since, that the flu has just ripped strips off that team. And if there's any week for the team to cop the flu, it's during qualifying final when you get a second chance. So now they're going to butter up and presumably be in much better shape. There's talk about Josh Rochelle returning, who's coming back from injury, and he's probably going to be a little bit undercooked. But there's talk about him returning, and so they're really trying to load up. They have to. Like every team at this point, it's knockout. So every team is going to load up when and where they can. And so do I think the Crows can regain their composure and get a win against the Hawks? Well, the Hawks' defense has been tracking pretty well lately. The likes of Barras and Battle, Hardwick, Sicily, etc., have been doing a great job. You've got your Crows forward line that, despite the fact that Riley Tilthorpe had a pretty poor week last week, he's still got his hands on the ball plenty. Fogarty's in good shape. Tex Walker's in good shape. They're going to have their hands full, those Hawks defenders, let alone you toss these small forwards in there. You've got Rochelle coming back. And I just don't rate the Hawthorn forward line. I know Gunston's had a phenomenal season. He might, again, stand up for the Hawks, but I just don't buy into, especially with Kelshadere out, I don't buy into Mabior Chol. I don't buy into Mitch Lewis returning from injury, and he's built up some form and those sorts of things, but I think the key defenders from the Crows are more equipped to handle the Hawks key forwards than the Hawks defenders are equipped to handle the Crows key forwards. The midfield matchup is pretty similar, I'd say, though admittedly Jai Newcomb is playing some of the best finals football we've seen in a long, long time. His form in finals football is absolutely phenomenal. He's been the top-ranked player in a whole host of consecutive games now. I believe he's only second to Dustin Martin or something like that was the stat that I heard. In terms of finals form. Now, of course, he hasn't gone to the big dance, so he hasn't proven himself on that level. But in terms of just streaks of being the best player on the ground, he is supposedly number one only to Dusty at this point, or two to Dusty at this point. I'm going to tip the Crows, though. The home deck, the need to rebound, the fact that they're all in better shape now, that presumably they're all going to be healthy and rid of this flu, should mean that they get the job done in this one. But then that takes us to a far more interesting matchup to me. They're not going to be playing the Cats unless it's in a grand final. But the Lions, fresh off a loss from us, now they're down Lachie Neale. We now know that Eric Hipwood's out for the season. Against the Suns, who've just played their first final, won it. Their tails are up. Their momentum is absolutely flying at the moment. And the Lions are gettable right now. Now, the thing that, I've seen so many people tipping confidently in favor of the Lions in this matchup. In fact, as I record this, just looking at the odds, Brisbane are $1.59 favourites, the Suns $2.36. There's quite a spread between them in terms of just where the money is going. Now, forget gambling for a second. This is still representative of what people think is going to happen. And I just don't buy that. Please let's not lose sight of the fact that the last time these two teams played, about 6 or 7 weeks ago, the Suns won by 66 points. They obliterated them. The midfield got the job done, and then they took advantage of every opportunity, blunted the Lions up the other end. And now the Lions are a weaker outfit than they were back then with the various players that are out. I will happily, confidently tip the Suns in this one. It's the biggest Q clash of all time. I'm really, really excited for the theatre around the whole thing. And the Lions are, similar to the Crows. They're going to be keen to atone for what happened last week. But I just don't see the Lions having enough in them right now. The flu is what really undid the Crows. And, they didn't step up to the occasion. They'll learn from that. But they've got a mostly healthy list. The Lions they're depleted and they've gotten weaker. And now if you want to, try and lock down a play, and Dimmer's not big on kind of lockdown tagging roles, but if you want to lock someone down, it really the Brisbane Lions options are quite limited. You've got Ashcroft, you've got McCluggage, and you've got Dunkley. And I'm not counting Levi Ashcroft in this, though. I'm sure he's going to spend a bit more midfield time. I don't think he's someone that the Suns will need to worry themselves too much about. And you can toss Berry and some of those blokes in as well, but the depth, they just don't run that deep in that particular part of the ground right now. So I think the Suns are going to get the job done. I think they're going to struggle to stop Rowell and Anderson, let alone some of the others that will cycle through there as well. I'm tipping the Suns, which then, as we've done in the last couple of weeks, leads us to prelim final week, and we cast a bit of an eye forward there to our matchups. We've got the Pies and the Suns. We've got the Cats and the Crows. Let's deal with our Cats game first. Cats at the MCG. And with no great degree of confidence, I'll tip the Pies. Which then leads to grand final week. This is not the pairing that I think I tipped a couple of weeks ago, but Cats to get the job done against the Pies. At this point, I'm still feeling confident. Let's see how we go going into prelim final week based on whatever actually eventuates this week. But this is how I foresee the rest of the finals playing out as things currently stand. Crows to beat Hawks, Suns to beat Lions, Pies to beat Suns, Cats to beat Crows, grand final, Cats and Collingwood. It's 2011 all over again. Cats getting the chocolates. Those are my thoughts. Let me know what you think. It is semi-final week. There's a lot that can change in the space of days. We don't have match selection at this particular point in time. There are so many things that could play out even before the first bounce on Friday night between the Crows and the Hawks, let alone Saturday night between the Suns and the Lions. But I'm keen to hear your thoughts. Do you agree with my predictions? Do you agree with my rationale, but maybe not my final pick? Keen to hear all of your thoughts. Drop them in the comment section. If you like this video, please make sure to like it, subscribe to the Hoops Crew, and check out all of the content here that we're creating from myself, Ben, and the chaps. There's so much stuff, and your support so far this final series has been absolutely phenomenal. If you continue to want more from us, consider checking out our Patreon, patreon.com/thehoopscrew, where for $5 you'll get early access, extended, and exclusive content delivered directly to your email inbox. and there's a 7-day free trial to see if it's for you first. In terms of socials, you'll find me at Paul James Games. That's on Twitter, Blue Sky, and Instagram. The Hoops Crew, you'll find at the Hoops Crew. And until next time, remain Geelong strong, everyone. Check out all of our content. Thank you for checking out this video as well. I'll see you later.